Hey, what's up guys, and yes, as you see by the title, this is the final episode. I just want to thank you all for sticking along with this journey. The final episode of What If Naruto Was Direct Descent of the Sage. It's been a long one guys, and I just want to thank you all for following along this journey and sticking through to the end guys. I just want to say thank you all for your help and your support, and yeah, don't worry because guys, as these end, new one are coming up soon for you guys to enjoy. So just stay tuned for those and I hope you guys enjoy. And also guys, remember if you're new and this is the first time you hear my voice, I have 3 channels. I post a brand new episode of What If Naruto had Cosmic Energy over on Anime King 3. So go ahead and enjoy that. And he also posts a brand new episode of What If Naruto Was Neglected and Lost Everything over on Anime King 2. So go ahead and enjoy that as well guys. And yeah, without further ado, what is to begin this final episode, start the intro. So the last time we left off, both Naruto and Nagato were fighting like 2 titans. Their power ripping apart the surrounding area as Naruto managed to pull the meteor from the sky, slamming it down into the ground, blowing half of it apart so Konoha wouldn't be destroyed. As Tendo got destroyed as he was hit with the full force of the meteor that he created. Jiraiya arrived as he saw Naruto standing there, as he wondered what the hell was going on. As Naruto tapped him with his staff and sealed away his chakra and told him that he didn't like when someone sealed away his chakra, right? Touche, seeing that was done to Naruto as well. As Naruto made his way and told Jiraiya that it would wear off. Soon, as he was gone, he arrived, as Tendo was there. The both of them looked at each other. As Naruto moved and so did Tendo, as the both of them did. The human path on each other. It was then that they experienced each other's life. Tendo couldn't understand when he was done. How did Naruto go through so much, almost the same as him or even worse, and yet he still fought on? The both of them talked and Tendo realized that Naruto was him, but yet he chose another way, he chose another path. The both of them summoned the one that stick by their side through thick and thin, as Fu and Kona were both unconscious. Both girls had fought to a standstill. As Tendo offered Naruto a place to stay. As the both of them had something left to do, they had to take down the masked man. They had to stop him. At the hidden rain, things turned into chaos rather quickly. As Naruto faced off against the 8 Tails as the masked man brought him there, the reanimation form of the 8 Tails. Yes, Killer Bee was dead. As Killer Bee started to fight Naruto as they tread through the place, the masked man used the opportunity to take Nagato's eyes, as Nagato was still in a coma-like state after his surgery to remove all the rods from his back, but his eyes were now gone as Nagato woke up. Still, he remembered the feeling as he was able to mold his chakra, to turn his arms up, for him to be able to push himself up, but he still didn't have the energy to help Naruto fight as he hoped that Naruto had this. As Fu went to check on Kona and seen that she was attacked by the masked man, B went all out rather quickly because he wanted Naruto to absorb the 8 Tails. As Naruto figured that out as he removed the 8 Tails from B, sealing it within himself, freeing B from this world, as B thanked him. Naruto was gone the next morning as he had to end this, as the fox Kurama told him that it was time. Yes, he had to end this once and for all. As he made his way, he was pulled to his mindscape by Kurama, as he saw the other tail beasts, all of them gathered, as all of them had their faith in him. As Naruto went to end this once and for all, not knowing what was happening to his body with having all of the tail beasts gathered inside of him. So yeah guys, so it's basically as we left off. You guys can switch across the place, check it out for yourself. So this is this new episode. It took Naruto 3 hours of flying to find where he was looking for. It was a desert wasteland of Toninakone, a massive wasteland that spread on for miles upon miles. As his massive summoning bird descended down towards the ground, It was currently nighttime as a large moon hung in the sky. hundreds, thousands of stars glittering. The bird summon poofed away as Naruto's on his feet. As Naruto started to mold his chakra, before slamming his hand on the ground as a massive sealing matrix spread out. Summoning! There was a massive poof as the smoke slowly cleared away to reveal the form of the Gedo statue, sitting cross-legged. He knew this was a Gedo statue from Nagato's memories, but the aura that he felt from the thing was just unable to be expressed in words. Despite that thing's eyes that were covered, it seemed like it was peering through him for its chakra. After all, Kurama told him, "I have begun to wonder if you were going to do this. Thank you for not disappointing." As Naruto saw the masked man step out of one of his vortex, he had changed, wearing a purple battle robe, and his mask was now white with spirals on it. He had a fully developed Sharingan in one eye, and the other eye had the Rinnegan. It was Nagato's Rinnegan. It was so he could control the stone behemoth in front of them. "Whatever you're planning won't work." The masked man raised an eyebrow in a mocking gesture. "Oh, because you contain all of the Biju," the man said, his tone completely uncaring of the situation. That put Naruto on edge a bit. The fact that he knew that he had all of them was suspicious, but he confirmed something as he was fighting Killer Bee. "You knew, you planned for it." Despite being hidden behind the mask, Naruto could feel a smirk that the man was giving off. "I suppose you can think of it that way, but like I said, you have a tendency to ruin everything I seem to try to set into motion. Having the Rinnegan run away from Konoha, those years where I thought you were gone for good, just gone. Doing my job of collecting the other Bijus, befriending the Jinchurikis, befriending Nagato. You're just a big wrench in my plans. So, I decided to deal with you myself. What makes you think you'll be any more a threat than the last time you tried," said Naruto. The masked man lifted his hand as he removed the gun bay from his back. Gravity increased around his body as his knees started to bend, but he flexed his hand as the pressure was cancelled out. "You weren't the only one that fancied eye any." He couldn't get to finish a sentence as Naruto launched a wave of gravitational force right towards him, but he simply swung the gun bay, batting aside the almighty push like it was nothing. At that very moment, two hands burst on the earth, wrapping around Naruto's feet. Naruto broke his feet out of the first one. Toby shot forward as he tapped Naruto right in the chest. As Naruto swung his staff, but Toby jumped back. There was a thread of chakra connecting him to Naruto. Where he landed, a figure rose from the ground. It was Zetsu, completely black. When he looked down, it seemed like this was one to restrain him. But how? As Naruto then saw it, the faint trace of natural energy, as Toby simply smirked under his mask. Finally, as Toby created a black rod, he attached a chakra thread that he had on Naruto to it. As he threw it right towards the Gedo statue, there was a strange chakra conducting orb inside of the Gedo statue chest, a weird orb that was glowing. As the black rod struck in the thing's chest, Naruto pre-the-pad tried to pull the chakra back, but the thing was immensely dragging the chakra out of him. He quickly spinning Shakijo and severed it. As he looked towards his hand, it wasn't that large amount of drain, but he noticed a difference. The statue also had strange cracks on it now, as it was twisting and turning about. "What did you do?" Naruto asked. The masked man looked towards him. "What are you talking about, Naruto Uzumaki?" "I did nothing. You were the one that provided a spark to finally awaken the Jobe from its long overdue slumber." As Naruto's eyes widened in implications. What are you talking about?" "Did you think I had no plan B, Uzumaki?" asked the masked man. "I am always prepared for any eventuality, even before I knew that you were going around, collecting the Biju like they were some sort of prizes." As he pointed towards the Gedo statue, the star of Hashigakure, the Zero Tails, and a help from my little snake friend. A seal to draw in natural chakra, as Naruto thought that was the reason why there was this mark across the Gedo statue's chest. He did not see that in any of Nagato's memory. They provided the chakra, my young monk, and you provide the life essence. As Naruto's eyes widened, so you finally understand, you see, your chakra is merged with every single Biju. So a simple spark from you is enough to ignite the fire that will blur away this reality. Naruto's body exploded with chakra as he moved, rushing towards the statue to stop this somehow. But Toby flashed in front of him. Chains burst out of Naruto's body, crackling together. It's not gonna be enough, Uzumaki, as Toby backed away the chains despite their sharp edge with ease. But Naruto was distracted and getting close. As he fell his fist with chakra as he came in, a punch that would have severed the man's body into half. But Naruto faded right through him as Toby used the momentum to turn, as he brought the edge of the gun blade towards Naruto's neck. It clashed against a metal tail. A third arm also emerged as Toby had to jump back. As Toby leaned up on the gun blade, he watched the extra arm break apart and return back to Naruto. He looked towards his own hand. Wonder if I can do that. Well, as amusing as this, he was cut off. As a previously invisible Naruto appeared behind the man, two chakra rod in hand to pierce right through the man's heart and neck. But it phased right through the man, who backhanded it once it was out, dispersing the clone. I really should be getting on the main show, don't you think? Toby said. Zetsu appeared from the ground once again, as it rised up like it was water. For the first time, Naruto noticed where Nagato, other Rinnegan, went. It was in a creature black eye socket. I can never have the same mastery over the techniques and the eye that both you and Nagato share. Both of you have it for way longer than me, but I think I've watched enough to know a particular jutsu that I'm about to use. As he flashed through hand signs, finishing on the snake seal, as Naruto's eyes went wide when the man said it. Renny Rebirth, as Toby slammed his palm right into Black Zetsu's chest, making the creature double over. Slowly its form started to shift, steam hissing off of it. Toby collapsed, having to use a hand to support himself as he panted heavily. But after a moment or two he looked up, with Naruto glaring at him as he smirked, with a look of victory. It's amusing, isn't it? Normally, I would introduce myself as Mother Uchiha. It strike fear into the hearts of those who I face. As Naruto saw steam still coming from Zetsu. However, considering what I just did, that seemed a bit redundant. The mist started to clear away, as it blew, to show a man with long, black hair. The man said, as he looked towards his hand, the feeling of having a real, living body again. The voice was deep and commanding. As Naruto saw who the man was, the real Madara Uchiha, Madara. As Madara turned and looked down towards the masked man with the gun over his back. Obito, the masked man nodded as he removed his mask completely, as he had scars along the right side of his face. A streak of white ran through his spiky black hair because of his use of the Renny Rebirth. The plan has almost come to fruition, Madara. The eternal Tsukuyomi is ready to use. Madara simply nodded, his one eye roaming the empty field that he was currently in. It took in the full moon. He then turned towards Naruto. He raised the eyebrow and seen another set of full, working Sharingan eyes. Where's that Nagato brat? I thought you'd be the one to bring me back. And who is this? Asked Madara. The man now identified as Obito decided to answer, as Naruto didn't know who the hell that was. On second thought, said Madara, before Obito could say anything, I require a test of my abilities in Wii. Nintendo. Obito's eyes widened as Madara grabbed him, as he twitched uncontrollably trying to get free, as the technique sapped away everything from him. When Madara released him, he dropped to the ground, a twitching mess, unable to do anything. As Madara closed his eyes, a smile on his face. Another Rinnegan user. That's rather interesting. I wonder how that came about, when I was supposed to be the only true successor to the sage. As Naruto felt the aura from this man, it was like nothing he ever faced before, not even like Nagato. Perhaps my absence from the world brought forth some reincarnation. No matter, you and the remaining Bichu chakra you have will be dealt with in time. As he turned back to his crumbling student to remove the eye, but his hand snapped up and cancelled out the massive gravity wall that was sent towards him. I will stop you, said Naruto. Madara turned as he looked rather amused. He crossed his arms over his chest. Really? A mere boy standing in front of someone like me. You may possess the Rinnegan, child, but do not think that put you on the same realm as myself. But if you insist on dancing, at least meet me to the first steps. Madara flashed through hand sign as he spewed a massive wall of flames towards Naruto. It was massive, so massive indeed, it will take at least 10 water style users come anywhere close to stopping this. Water style, said Naruto, as Naruto sprayed water from his mouth. But it was not just a pond or anything like that. It was a tsunami, as it overpowered the massive wall of flame. The entire area got flooded in a steam. The next second, Madara burst out of the steam gun in hand ready to swipe Naruto away like he was some sort of insect. As Naruto leapt to his side, chains bursting from his body to keep Uchi at bay. Gekido, Madara said. As soon as chains came close, he absorbed them, as breaking them down into what they are, chakra. As he took a large amount of chakra from Naruto. As he started to withdraw the rest of them, Madara grabbed one of them and yanked it. Blood erupted from Naruto's mouth as Madara's fist slammed into his stomach and crushed him into the ground. Pitiful. And Nobita was having such trouble with a weakling like you. Naruto lay there in the crater his body had formed, his eyes wide and blinking, as Madara stomped on his chest. You're hardly even worth the effort. You're not even a shinobi. You're just a mere monk. As Madara raised his foot and stomped down once again, as Naruto cried out in pain as the crater got deeper. Shame, I was looking forward to a good fight when I got back, but Madara was cut off, as tentacles of sand came forward to swipe him away as he moved back. Are you okay, father? The voice of Shikaku asks, as Naruto lay there, looking up in the sky, as Naruto raised his hand and slammed it in the ground next to him, using the leverage to push himself up. I'm fine, Shikaku, thank you. He got no reply, but he felt the happiness that was inside of him, as Shikaku was happy that he was okay, as he realized he was not just fighting for himself, he was fighting for everything that he loved and believed in, and he would never let them all down. You have gained some results, said Madara, but a shame, it is too late. As Naruto felt it, the eerie silence, nothingness. Everything went still one moment, as Naruto turned as a bright light enveloped the place. When the light died down, Naruto's eyes went wide as he looked up into the Tomo. The 9 Tomo eye of the Jobe that looked down towards him, as Naruto felt like an ant. The feeling was awful, the malicious, deadly chakra as the 10 tails swayed behind it. What the hell? He knew the thing was powerful, but this feeling of dread, it was like he was an ant standing up to a mountain. The creature roared, even Madara seemed shocked by it. As the roar trembled everything around, cracking mountains. From a simple roar, the thing raised its arm and crashed it back down into the earth. As Naruto waved his hand, as he split the massive debris that was coming towards him. As it just passed around him, he stood there. As the Jobe started to thrash around madly, as Naruto noticed a tiny black dot on its head, it was Madara. But the Jobe didn't seem to like him being there. Its tails that had fingers on them that seemed to just transform, trying to grab Madara. But Madara used his gun B and gravity to blow them back. As Naruto tried to shrug off the amount of inch that the beast has brought down. Using this moment for his advantage, he sunk down to the ground as he tapped into the nature energy that was all around him. As he drew in the natural energy, a feeling of peace watched over him. As he felt calm once again. Calm, stable. When he opened his eyes, they looked like melted gold. And the fear that he felt from the Jobe had pushed aside, it wasn't there anymore, as he wasn't petrified in his stance. As one of the tails came down, that bone-white tail, to crush him as he leaped out of the way. The shockwave threw him, but he twisted mid-air and landed another tail that came to crush him, using the momentum of that tail to throw himself back, getting a distance away from the massive beast. But it was short for the beast to catch up though, because the moment Naruto landed, the tail smashed down on him. Madara started to go through hand sign on top of Jobe's head, but the thing started growing. As Naruto was standing underneath the tail holding it up, he transformed his hands into knife appendages and stabbed into the tail. As he focused everything he had, he focused, thanking Tsunade once again for helping him with this. As he focused and focused all of his might, all of his strength on this stupid, idiotic thing he was about to do. The Senjutsu, the strength technique, his own natural strength from the Rinnegan. As Naruto lifted the tail, but he did not stop. Madara's eyes widened as he watched by a single tail. The Jobe was lifted off the ground. It was thrown. As the thing flailed in mid-air before it crashed down hard, hundreds of miles away, in the stone and in the sand. People felt the impact. They thought it was a mild earthquake, where the Jobe head was now implanted into the earth. Madara burst out of the rubble. Looking rather irritated, he jumped off the beast's head before it could crush him under the weight. but he was pulled down by all the boulders, crushed in the same way, as he looked quite pissed off by it. Uzumaki. If it isn't Uzumaki's Senjus, why do those families always have to get in my way? He reached up as he grabbed something that smashed his body deep down into the earth. But yet, the man was unfazed because he grabbed it, but just the force of it brought his body down. As it was Naruto's feet, that almost hurt. But his one Rinnegan eye widened though, when he saw, Sage mode. Now that's interesting. It's not the only thing, said Naruto that smile. As Madara's smile slipped a bit, Madara grunted as he was hit into the side, the body that he was holding on to disperse. His body was thrown like a rag doll as he slammed right into the head of the Jobe. As the thing started to stir, he stuck to the side of the thing with chakra as he had to move. As Naruto came down as he crushed his foot where Madara once was. The Jobe cried out in anger and pain as his head was crushed into the ground by the unbelievable force that the small blonde created. As Madara saw his speed and strength had greatly increased, and the blonde had both of his eyes. As he looked around, he lost Obita's body, Obita's unconscious body in the chaos around. He really hoped it wasn't pulverized by the beast. Sand gathered around him as he blew everything away with an almighty push, clearing the entire area, blowing away the four clothes that were deep in the sand to try and grab him. The real Narutos are behind him, turning, moving towards Madara's Madara paused, slightly turning his head towards Naruto. The man Rinnegan shifted as he turned red. As he shifted back into the Susanoo, said Madara. As Naruto was flung violently, as he was thrown in the air, he released 3 chains to pull himself back down as they stabbed right into the Jobe. Don't you see the futility of all this now, Uzumaki? Madara asked, his arms extended. As Naruto ran to the side of the beast's head, he paused. At the sight in front of him, the infinite Tsukuyomi is the only true answer to humanity's suffering. Inside, everyone will have their own peaceful world. It's just a lie, an illusion, said Naruto, as he kept his eye trained on Madara, who was in a giant blue flame, looking like one of those old samurais, as the top part was built but the bottom was not there. The Jobe eye flicked up, trying to find the 2 creatures fighting on top of his head. Madara simply smirked. And this reality is not a lie, said Madara. Everything here is just base to enslave humanity to their war-torn whims. This is nothing but a futile existence, not deserving of anyone. The peace that one will gain inside the infinite Tsukuyomi is all one will need. Peace gained through a fake illusion world is no peace, said Naruto. Madara snarled. And what could you know, you small, insignificant child? Are you so selfish they deny mankind the peace that they have been searching for their entire life, just because you don't want it? Madara brought down Susanoo blade, as the thing dispersed before it could even touch Naruto, as the other blade came down towards Naruto, attacking a Rinnegan user with a construct made of chakra, said Naruto, as Madara felt a tug on his chakra reserves, as Naruto was absorbing it fast, as Madara realized his Susanoo, its strongest technique by far, is useless against his mere boy, as the both of them stood there as Madara dispersed Susanoo. But the both of them had to leap away as the Jobe swung a tail, scraping over its own head to hit the 2. As Naruto ended up further down the Jobe back, close to that strange plant. Then suddenly, the thing roared. It roared. It sounded angry, raging angry. It then started to shook violently as Naruto looked around confused. He watched the thing vanish right in front of him. The massive beast that was just there was now gone. As Naruto saw the smoke kicked up, someone was standing there. It was Madara, but at the same time it was not. His black hair was now white. Instead of his armor, he was now covered in a white cloak, snowy to be exact, with 9 tomos arranged on the back. He had on a headband that seemed to grow out of his scalp, and it had horns, and he had a dark shakijo in his left hand. This is power, said Madara. As his staff shook as he pointed towards Naruto, 2 orbs were created and flew towards Naruto at incredible speed. Despite knowing that they were chakra and seeing that they were made, Naruto's body told him to avoid them. For some reason his body told him to avoid them, as one of the spears elongated before it could reach him fully. Almighty push, said Naruto. But the spear simply ripped right through the wall of gravitational force like it was absolutely nothing. Naruto flinched as the spear got close to him, but a wall of sand blocked it. The sand slowed down as Naruto threw himself to the side, getting away from it. He watched as a black spear teared through the ground where he had stood, passing through it, and it wasn't slowing down. Another thick spear tried to crush down on him, but a wall of sand blocked it. Despite his body enhanced with senjutsu, he could not sense these things no matter what. Shikaku will always protect father, Shikaku said, as chains came from Naruto and yanked him over to the side. Shikaku is right, Naruto. Madara has become a lot more powerful. You have to rely on us to defeat him. This time it was Kurama that got in, as Naruto blasted the cannon blast of his arm. The spear that he fired at avoided. Yes, it actually moved. But that made Naruto smile at me. They could be damaged by him. As he was so caught up, he did not even notice, as Madara just blinked in front of him with a speed that seemed unnatural. You just continue to amuse me, Uzumaki, holding out even when you know it's hopeless. A short talk gave Naruto enough time to reach and pull the Shakijo up as Madara brought down his as the both of them clashed. The ground under Naruto exploded, but yet Naruto did not bow to his knees, as Madara's force was monstrous. He then heard a cracking sound. To his surprise, his staff was cracking. There was nothing he could do as Madara applied more strength as the thing snapped. Time seemed to slow as Naruto saw his staff that he carried for 6 years now, that was so much a part of his adventures, just broke into half. There was no explosion or anything, it just snapped like a splinter. Then time fly back into motion as Naruto was sent sailing by the momentum of the staff. He flipped and landed on his feet as Madara stomped right on top of the ring part of the staff, cracking it further into the ground. There will be no need for useless relics of a forgotten age in the Tsukuyomi. Naruto took a breath as a single tail rise up behind him before shrinking back down, as Madara watched with interest as he saw a single Tomo appear in Naruto's eye in his outer Rinnegan. As the entire place got shrouded in shadow, as Madara looked up, massive wall of sands that was creating arms was hovering above them. They were even larger than the Jobe arms, but they had blue veins running across them with crisscross surface. That was all he got to see as they came down, as they brought a massive gust with them as well. But Madara simply raised his hand lazily, as one of the black spears raised up and stretched into a thin white shield, as the sand was ripped apart by the black spear, the truth-seeking orb. As Madara looked over to smirk at Naruto, but Naruto was gone, chains appeared as he batted away. He knocked the kick away that came towards his face, slapping it down as he knocked away the punch as well. But as he moved to hit the blonde out of the sky, sand spikes emerged, but his truth-seeking orb came and blocked them. Then Naruto was on him again, twisting his body as his hands were covered in ethereal blue flames. As Madara saw a second Tomo appear inside of Naruto's eye, as Naruto was moving fast strikes and aimed for his own eye, Madara tilted his head dodging the attacks, as Naruto was getting faster. But still, it wasn't much of a problem, as Naruto's hands were covered in the blue flames. You can trust in us, Naruto, like how you managed to make us trust in you, said Mantabe, as Naruto struck faster and stronger with more determination. But Madara started to get irritated as he brought the Shakijo around, faster than he ever did before. Bam! Naruto was launched as he cratered through the ground. To Madara's shock, though, when the smoke cleared, he saw Naruto's body was surrounded by a coral, a thick coral that did not break. As Naruto came out of it, there was a third Tomo in his eye. We're just returning the favor for protecting us so long, Aisabu said. That made Naruto smile as he sprinted towards Madara, as Madara sent more black balls towards him. But Naruto flipped, or he sent sand away, as he was now running on all fours. Like a wild animal, blue flames still covering his palms showed him that the Bijus are not to be underestimated. The voice of Son Goku went off in his mind as Naruto raised his hand as Madara released an almighty push. The heater in his hand intensified beyond natural degrees. His hands were now showing orange markings like lava as he clawed right through the technique, not faltering. As Madara's shield came back up as Naruto started to assault it, as Madara felt it. What the hell? He had to drop it and move back. But the moment he did, the ground underneath his feet exploded upwards into a geyser of molten rock. As Naruto flipped over the shield, but Madara reached up and caught his leg and slammed him back into it. Naruto cried out in pain as he was crushed against the burning black chakra that he could not absorb for some reason. I suppose you're better than going apart to the back of that thing once again. said Kogyo, as the five tails gave him as steam started to pour off Naruto's body. Madara had to move as the steam came. In the inner circle of Naruto's eye, another Tomo arrived. As Madara noticed it as he moved, blocking a vicious kick that was stronger and faster than before, as Naruto stood on the Shakijo. As Madara watched the black substance was melting away, as a powerful acid was being poured out of Naruto's body. As Madara found himself hard pressed against Naruto increased speed. The fact that he was using Taijutsu style was just random and unpredictable. He allowed the black stuff to disintegrate as it was already melting away, as he formed a new one and slammed it into Naruto's side, smirking as he did. As Madara moved forward to grab him, but Naruto turned in mid-air and lashed out with a brutal kick to his face, launching him backwards, surprising him. "Do it for Fu-chan," said Komi. Madara slammed his hands on the ground, stopping his momentum, as he noticed the wings coming from Naruto's back, as another Tomo entered his eye on the innermost ring. And for Killer Bee, the voice of Jaiki's said to Naruto, as Madara flew towards him as Naruto used the wings and spin. Black ink exploded from his body, swallowing the entire area. Despite Madara bringing up the shield, some of it burned through his robes as some of it got on him. He blew it off the almighty push though. Madara cursed. Naruto said Kurama, but before he could say anything else, an explosion of chakra went off on Madara, as the ear itself seemed to twist and move around so rapidly Naruto was thrown backwards, his wings not helping him, as Isobe Coil protected Naruto, but he was still winded as he crashed in the ground. "Enough of this," said Madara. "You are getting annoying now, stopping me and delaying my plans." As Madara slammed his hands together, roots started to grow all around Naruto. As they started to spread out, it looked like they had a mind of their own. Now, be swallowed by the Shinju, said Madara. As Naruto leaped backwards as the roots were melding together and growing into a massive tree that seemed to spread straight up to the sky. As Naruto had turned into a buzzsaw and started to saw them off, but everyone he took down, 5 more appeared as one of them lashed around his arm. His eyes went wide. As Naruto cursed, he felt his chakra being yanked out of him. Whatever this plant was, it was sucking out his chakra fast. But for all of his struggling, the tree continued to grow no matter what. Another branch grabbed onto his leg and yanked him. His muscles bulged as he panted, trying to rip himself out of it. But as he struggled, he was growing weaker and weaker and weaker as he felt so tired. The air around him started to get thin as the light started to get dark, as his body slumped over unconsciousness, tugging at his awareness. "Naruto!" Shin said as she jumped out of bed, panting, cold sweat swallowing her entire body, as she was frightened by what she just saw. Since Naruto helped her, her vision had become less and less. Nothing dangerous, and yet what she just saw. Priestess! As Taruho appeared beside her, rushing inside the room. "I'm fine, Taruho. There's no need to worry," she said, as Shin looked up towards the moon. "Please be safe, Naruto. Please," she said. Meanwhile, Gaara, "What are you doing?" Gaara shifted his gaze from the stars, looking towards the teenager that crawled up on the roof as well, as she sat beside him. "I could not sleep." As she wiped at her eyes as she sat rather close to him. "Oh," she said, a cute yawn escaping her lips. She didn't need to ask to know why. Gaara, often asleep, more than habit from anything else. Growing up, keeping Shikaku at bay, he could go weeks without sleeping. As the girl beside him, Sesame, looked up towards the stars. "The moon seemed too bright tonight," said Gaara. Sesame from the Fuma clan turned as she looked towards Gaara, confused by that. She knew that he was always mysterious ever since he saved her life. So much so that when he decided to move on and stop accepting so much of their clan hospitality, she decided to tag along with him. He didn't seem to like to have her along at the beginning, but later she realized it was just that he didn't know how to deal with people. He didn't know how to react well. "You say the weirdest things sometimes, Gaara," she said. "You don't have to stay, Sesame. You look tired," said Gaara, as he was just concerned about her. It wasn't that he was brushing her off. "Now what kind of friend would I be if I let you stay up here alone?" she said, as she stayed with him. As Gaara looked towards her as her head started to bob on his shoulder. As he let her rest her head, he smiled. But then he felt the control of sand that he had slipped away. As he realigned it back, confused. What the hell? This hadn't happened since Naruto took the Ichibai from him. But why now? He knew that something was wrong, he felt it. Something was off. Meanwhile, Tsunade-sama, are you okay? Asked Shizune, as Tsunade was currently in the boot. The restoration of the village was going smoothly as Tsunade gave herself a break. That meant going out to the nearest undamaged bar and drink herself till she couldn't feel anymore. Huh? What? Yeah, I'm fine, Shizune. Stop being such a mother hen, huh? She said as she drank another cup of sake. Okay, if you're sure, says Shizune. She knew why the woman was feeling in a bad mood. Naruto and Fu had came, but they had left once again without even a goodbye. But the saucer in her hand cracked, splashing Tsunade with sake, soaking her shirt. Well, the guys in the bar seemed to like it, but Tsunade had a horrified look on her face. As Shizune noticed, "Oh geez, Shizune," said Tsunade, brushing it off. "Stop looking at the damn cup and get me a napkin or something." As Shizune nodded as Tsunade looked towards the broken saucer. Meanwhile, Chikaku coughed, as he has been getting a rather nasty cough lately. But he knew when it was his time, it was his time. But if there was one thing that he wanted to see Naruto again. Rather selfish, but yes. He would like to see Naruto again before his time came. As he glanced towards the darkened sky that he could see from his window, the moon was big and full tonight. Perfect night for meditation. But Chikaku just could not get into it for some reason. Meanwhile, Sora was in a beautiful clearing. Flowers and a river over to the side. As he sat by the fire with a smile on his face. As he was setting up his camp, though, there was a strange chill that just seemed to shook his body for some reason. He felt strange. He heard a cracking sound. As he removed the bead from his ear, there was a crack going right through it. A frown came on his face as he thought about the person that gave him this as a gift, not really liking this at all. This bad omen. Meanwhile, the statue that Naruto had built for Shizuku, the mist condensing around it, came down towards his eye, like it was crying. Meanwhile, Hiruzen had one of his arms in a bandage. As he looked over the massive window looking over his village, he had bandage crisscrossed in his stomach, but he was alive. The wrinkle on his face seemed deeper, yes, and his face was more sunken, but most of all he just felt tired, incredibly so. He still had not yet picked a successor. His students didn't have any hopes of taking his mantle on, and the generation below him was still too young. Kakashi came up close though. He sighed as he sat down as he wondered how different things would be if Naruto had stayed in the village. In a few years, he would have been able to take up the Hokage title for himself. From what the Anbus told him about his fight with the Akatsuki, he had the power for it. Not to mention, back then when he had came and spoke to the people, he wanted peace, he wanted love and happiness in the world. As Hiruzen looked up towards the fourth Hokage's face, a few cracks were there on the monument, probably happening in the fight. But Hiruzen felt weird, he didn't know why, like something bad was happening at this moment, but he just couldn't tell what it was. Meanwhile, Teiwa had spat out her drink, laughing, as Hanoka turned her head and folded her arms at the ice sculpture that Haku had made. Usually, his ice sculpture were good, but this one had her standing on the top of working man with a whip in her hand, pointing towards what they should do. A few of the workmen nearby caught sign of it, as they started to laugh as well, spreading towards the bar, as Anoka slowly shrinked into her shirt as she was made the laughingstock of the room. Haku simply dissolved the statue and patted her on the back, holding down his own chuckles. She smirked evilly though. He will get his later. And Uzumaki never backed down when it comes to pranking. Damn, I'm glad this was one of the first places they fixed up. As Teiwa had tipped back another bottle of sake, much to Haku's worry. She was quite a bit handled already without being drunk. But he had to agree the bar was a lively, stating Uzu. The girl got so drunk that he bid Hanuka farewell, as he had to carry her home on his back. They passed a few workmen, as Haku nodded politely. The workman had been a rather recent addition to the island, simply showing up for a reconstruction job. When asked how they were supposed to pay for this, the man called Tazuna said it was already taken care of by a donor, as Haku had the idea of who did this. But at the time he didn't believe that the young monk possessed this money. But well, it was already taken care of, and Uzu was being restored to a semblance of its former glory. Hanuka hoped as people hear about the rebuilding that any Uzumaki that might left out there would come back home. Yes, as Haku brought Teiwaya home. But as he stood by the window, there was ice sculpture there. One of him, Hanoka, Teiwaya, and Naruto and Fu. Those was for when they came back. But the one of Naruto was split right down the middle, as it was leaking. That shouldn't happen. And the way it was melted, it looked like Naruto was crying. He felt a shiver went down his spine, like something was wrong, really wrong. Meanwhile, the world around Naruto was dark and cold. With every breath he took, he felt like his heart got slower and slower. Naruto. Naruto. A voice kept on saying, but he could not hear properly. Naruto! As he opened his eyes slowly. You're not alone. You were never alone. As Naruto struggled to turn his neck, wondering who was saying that, the voice was so warm and kind, as he saw a blur of red hair, a warm, gentle smile, 2 bright purple eyes smiling at him, and behind her was a man, blonde, his features looking quite familiar. More people started to appear behind them as well. Fu, Teiwaya, Haku, Shizuku, Nagato, Konan, Sora, Shizuku, Anoka, Sarutobi, Ayam, Tuki, everyone that he has met in his journey. Everyone appeared behind him. Another jolt of power ran through his body, giving him strength he didn't even know that he had. As he turned his head, he saw all the Bijus standing there, Kurama at the head of them. As Kurama had placed a paw on his back, that was where the warmth was coming from. As Naruto started to pick himself up, the roots dragged him down. You're not alone. We're here to help you. He picked himself up as he forced himself to his feet with a cry of exertion. He pulled himself up as the ground cracked. He panted, almighty, as he gathered the chakra inside of him. His eyes glowed 9 tomo in each of his Rinnegan. Push, he said, and everything went white. Moments earlier, Madara looked at the massive tree that had completely swallowed Naruto up in the roots. As he looked up towards the massive tree that went up, he didn't care if this tree was some sort of god. He was a Uchiha and he was going to harness the power. His victory was now upon him. After years of scheming, putting his plan together, everything was perfect, everything was ready. As Madara Eye merged back into the Sharingan, as he searched the battlefield, he will need his other Rinnegan Eye for when Madara paused as the tree trembled. He put it up to Naruto trying to find a last-ditch effort of escaping, but nothing more happened. So he went to find his other Rinnegan Eye. When Naruto opened his eyes, there was nothing around. Absolutely nothing at all. As he thought he might fall into nothingness. He didn't know what the hell was going on. As he stepped forward, confused where he was or what was going on. I assure you, this is a new experience for myself as well. As Naruto turned around at the androgynous voice that sounded like it was right beside his ear. But when he turned, there was no one at all there. As he sat down and focused on his chakra, it was the only thing that was still familiar in this strange world. Meditation. He was also fond of that human practice. As Naruto opened his eyes, but then again there was nothing. But then again the voice said, what your race do is rather strange. I suppose it's because of our different natures. Naruto tried to tap into the energy around him, hoping that it would give him an inkling of where he was. But as soon as he did, he felt like he opened a tap. No, he did not open it, he kicked it and burst it. This era was flooded with senjutsu. What do you think you're doing? The voice said once again. Sorry, it came out on instinct. As Naruto calmed the natural energy and let it flow back into this strange world. Ah, so the human can speak. That's refreshing. As Naruto didn't know what the hell was going on, and this voice that was literally in his head because there was no one around. It is disconcerting to hold a conversation with nothing. It makes you seem maddening, said Naruto. And rather unusual. But what is unusual? Naruto Uzumaki befront of him. Naruto saw a goddess. Yes, that was the only way he could explain her. Byakugan eyes. Yet they were white, the purest white. Flowing hair that went down into her back. Skin that was equally pale. But yet they had a elegant shine to it. The white cloak she wore, decorated with Megatama all over it. Who are you? Said Naruto. This is the form of Kaguya Osusuke, the very first form of your kind to harness my power and live. The very first. That became corrupted and defiled. The woman scowled at that, as Naruto mind flickered back to what Kurama told him when he started to earn the fox trust. Osusuke? As in Hagoromo Osusuke? The woman shifted, horns coming from her forehead, hair changing, eyes turning rippling, and floating right there into a man, showing the form of Hagoromo Osusuke. There was him as well. He was certainly one of a kind. The way he shared my chakra amongst the people, hoping that it will try to link them together. A slight snarl crossed the man's face, and it looked so strange on him despite Naruto never meeting this man before. But he was also naive until the end. But he was strong. Then that makes you the Jubi, said Naruto. The representation of Hagoromo nodded. Naruto was surprised because he saw no life, no sentience in that eye of the beast. It just looked like a rampaging beast. Yes, a rather uncomical name. But when I was still anchored to this world, I was known as a Shinju. Why take this form then? Naruto asked. The sage tilted his head. I can take hundreds of forms. All of them touch my chakra, some of them still holding my fragments, as it flashed through faces that Naruto did not notice, until he saw Gaara, Yujito, Yagura, Roshi. As Naruto saw the thing turn to him, then it shifted into Madara. It makes no difference to me, but as the very first, I suppose I have an attachment to Kaguya. You humans might call it sentimentality, as the vision returned back to Kaguya. So you don't consider it sentimental, said Naruto. He did not even know what he was doing. He was talking in literal Jobe. So long ago, I wouldn't have considered it. I was connected to this world. In every way possible, I existed. But I had no identity, no self, just my presence. But when this woman accepted my power, I gained a self, separate from the world. I became the Jubi, as you call it. At that, Naruto realized that the Shinjo thought that it was the entire world. It grew within your sons. I refused to accept it at first until I realized the fragments kept on growing, passing, separating from me, going into others. New feelings started to appear, rage, that something might take my energy, saddening, that it might twist it into something unbecoming of me. So you became more human, said Naruto. Yes, I became more human. Then what, said Naruto. As Naruto really wanted to know how he ended up here. Was he dead? You are not dead. You're in my head? And you're in mine as well, the Jubi said. But that's impossible, said Naruto. You humans always seems to amaze me by what you consider impossible or not. Oh, I see, you were making a joke, the Bijou said. Naruto sized his posture slump. Where are the Bijous? Where is Kurama, he said as he looked around. They are a part of what they used to be. Chakra. How is that fair, said Naruto. They had life, personality, bonds, feelings of their own. Is that just gone now, said Naruto. Like I said, you humans don't understand these things. Do your bonds mean anything to you when your forms rot away in the ground? When your soul passes on to the pure world, does your bond still hold on to you? Or hold on to whatever or whoever you had it on? The Shinjo saw that Naruto was still concerned. As the boy looked up, it saw hope in the boy's eyes. What do you mean, said Naruto. They are me. I am them. I am not dead. They live. You once asked me if Bijous ate, and I told you, Bijous do not need any substance to replenish your chakra. I asked Kurama that, said Naruto, as Shinjo nodded. So what does that make you now, if you're what they have become? We are... Naruto sighed. It was like talking in Shikaku after he had meditated. So what are you gonna do now, said Naruto. I imagine that Madara will try to return the world to what Kaguya enacted. The eternal Tsukuyomi. It is not a terrible state, and not one that I am unfamiliar with. But what do you want to do, said Naruto, as strange tremors went through the blank world. I do not want... I am... The Shinjo looked around. Kurama wants freedom, said Naruto. I failed to... Naruto cut him off. Shikaku wanted me to scratch behind his ear. Monotabi wanted to talk to someone. Aisabi wanted somewhere quiet. Son Goku wanted people to call him by his name. Kokyo wanted to argue with me. Saiken wanted someone that wouldn't fear his touch. Komi wanted to fly. Jaiki wanted a partner. If there's a scrap of them left in you, said Naruto as he got to his feet, tell me, what do you want? Even if you don't understand the concept of desiring, you still have it inside of you. And you said that you are them and they are you. So what do you want? You are a curious being, Naruto Uzumaki. It looked past him at something that Naruto could not see. Yes, I remember those wants. I know it is causing paradox inside of me. All at once, I want to be separate once again. But at the same time, I want to be back whole. Do you humans have a word to this feeling? What would it be called? It's a dream, said Naruto. Why would you humans chase something that is impossible? I am not sure that is just what we do. It's a point of existing. The point of having something a dream, to rely on knowing that there's something that you want and not just going on aimlessly without anything. I still do not understand then, Shinjo said. What must I want? Before you humans interrupted, I wanted nothing. I didn't even understand the concept of anything. I was just there. Not having a proper mind, just there. Well, like you said Naruto, you're no longer what you used to be. Because of what they've been through. You have those feelings, those wants, you have changed. But what this Madara proposes, it could turn the world back to what it was. I would possess all my chakra again, return from your thieving race. As the beast paused, Naruto thought that he made up his mind. However, that would mean losing this self. And I do not like that idea. You don't want to give up the individuality you have gained, said Naruto. You want to have your existence be known. Is that normal? For some humans, I suppose, said Naruto. Everyone wants to be acknowledged. Everyone wants to exist with a purpose. I know that you feel those through the counterparts of the other Bijus. You know what it's like, and you also want as well. I suppose I can understand that point of view. Then what do you want, said Naruto? I do not know. That's okay, not knowing what you want isn't a bad thing. Many people don't know what they want to do with their life and spend it searching for their purpose. But I am not people. Well, you can obviously think like one, said Naruto. As the face of Kaguya looked at Naruto, it smiled. You are a very interesting human, Naruto Uzumaki. You said that already, said Naruto. It is no less than before. You know, I should hate you. You are human, you belong to a race that ripped my chakra from me and disassembled it. But you don't, said Naruto. Shouldn't I, the Shinjo said. Can you judge an entire species by their predecessors? Does a child deserve to suffer for something grandparents did? Our parents did, said Naruto. I do not have to judge your entire species. Your people waged constant war, using my chakra to spill blood. Your shinobis twist the way of ninjutsu. Twist everything using my chakra to kill, to do as they please because they have power. The power that they have could help people change everything into a better place, yet they wage war. Why? The same thing Nagato asked him that none of them had an answer for, and he still did not. But there was... What about the good Naruto asked? What about the people that use chakra for great things? Healing, helping, people fly, connecting people to nature, harmonizing people. But there are so few. Can you defend everyone with so little? Lights shine brighter in the dark, said Naruto. Said Kaguya. As the Shinjo went quiet for a long while. You do realize the easier path will be to accept this infinite humanity will finally gain peace that you have craved for so long. My master once told me that the easier path only exists a long time ago, because someone was brave enough to step off the easy path and make a new one. Interesting, the Shinjo said. I can see everything you have lay bare before me. Your soul, everything. And yet, you surprised me. Maybe I should apologize for trying to kill you. Wait, said Naruto. If you know what I'm going to say before I say it, why bother asking? As Kaguya smiled. As Naruto saw a hint of karma in that smile. Because it is amusing. As the Shinjo tapped Naruto on the chest, as he was swallowed by a bright light once again. Meanwhile, Madara blinked as he shifted through the stage with his two eyes, showing off his full Rinnegan in both eyes as he has retrieved it from the body of Obito. But then the tree started to pulsate, and the blossom close. As Madara eyes widened in surprise, what the hell was going on? As Madara watched as the Shinju started to shrink away, it twisted like Obito Kamui. But his student was out of it, so this was not him. As he watched as the tree seemed to shrink back, there standing in a crater, his body surrounded by a white Hiyori of chakra, was Naruto Uzumaki. As Naruto looked at his hands and the cloak that surrounded his body, it was warm and comforting, and his body was filled with so much energy that he has never experienced before. His eyes were now blood red, with 9 tomo inside of them. As he looked towards his palm where a white seed was, as he smiled. He then looked up. Madara's eyes were raging in anger and hatred as Naruto was calm, utterly calm. As the both of them shot towards each other, the earth trembled, the area rocked as their fists collided. Madara cursed because Naruto was just defending and hitting back his fist with his own, not going in for the attack. He was matching him in power. As Madara threw the Chutekin orb towards him as Naruto caught it and looked towards the ball in his arm before he squeezed it as it burst, vanishing like black dust. It was a combination of elemental chakras and Naruto. Madara's eyes went wide. What did you do to the Shinju? What happened to the eternal Tsukuyomi? Madara created more and sent them towards Naruto in rage, but Naruto raised his hand as they all vanished. Madara stepped back in utter shock. Next thing he knew, Naruto was in front of him as Naruto tapped him on the chest, as Madara's face slammed down into a crater that was wide. The force unbelievable. His body ached with agony. Blood seeped from his mouth and his chest was collapsed. How? He asked as Naruto landed. I created spears of opposing elemental compass in the exact same area your space took up, cancelling out your attacks. No! How did you win? You relied on your power alone, forcing others to help you when they could. Like the Kyuubi and Shinju, I let others help me. It gave me something to fight for, something to look for. I even let the Shinju help me. Madara now realized why the cloak seemed so familiar. It was a sign of a perfect Jinchuriki. He was defeated by the man that did something not even the Sage of Six Paths could not. Somehow, it seemed fitting to be in this way. As Naruto kneeled down and placed his hand on his forehead, as Madara felt the chakra seeped away from his body. As Naruto stood back up, the cloak vanished, the red in his Rinnegan bleed away, the tomo fading. He raised his hand as a black star formed, as he tapped it on the ground as it turned into his wooden Shakijo. As he leaned on it as he felt terribly exhausted, he felt so drained he couldn't even consider a summon. As he marched back towards the Hinarine, he had won but he was tired. Right now he wanted nothing more than to climb back into bed with food. He had a lifetime right now to find the peace that mankind had been seeking for so long, with the Akatsuki and Madara behind him. But most importantly, he could spend his lifetime with the people that he cared about, the people he fought for. Everything felt calm and wonderful around him at the moment. And yes guys, this is where this finally came to an end. I hope you guys really enjoyed this series, and I just want to say again, thank you for the amazing support that you guys gave me. I just want to say thank you all guys. And don't worry, because you guys are know new what is are coming up soon for you guys to enjoy. But I'm out for now, see you guys soon. Peace.